Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here and 4Ks, and today I'm trying to take on the gargantuan task of talking about some of my favorite 4K releases of the year, and this is by far the most dense group of titles that I have to talk about. Definitely going to be some overlap with some other folks here, but I'm going to have to move kind of quickly to get through these without this being like an epically long, thing. So bear with me if we move fast, but there's a lot to talk about. There were a ton of great releases from a ton of great labels on 4K this year, and so there is so much to discuss. Let's get into it with some of the big ones. We'll start with maybe one of the biggest, literally and figuratively, The Hitcher. Second Sight's long-awaited restoration release of Eric Red's film The Hitcher. Truly, to me, one of the great horror films of the 1980s, and one of the great performances with Rutger Hauer as just an unhinged, almost demon human. But this set is ridiculous. I mean, and I'll talk about it, there's another Second Sight set in here. These limited editions from Second Sight, and you can see there's Dawn of the Dead. I mean, I try to get as many of these as I'm interested in. If I have any interest at all, I tend to get the limited edition sets, which include like an incredible book and multi-discs and cards, and the features on this are just insane. I mean, again, this is another one. This may be the case with some of these. I don't know what's available, what's not, if only a standard edition is available, but I'm just going with what I ended up picking up. And there's always the secondary market if you're really interested in some of these. But yeah, absolutely one of the best releases of the year, unquestionably. The Hitcher, just so good. Yeah, not a ton to say about it, but another favorite for me is the Vinegar Syndrome VSU release of Southern Comfort. Walter Hill's film with Powers Booth and Keith Carradine, and just an incredible T.K. Carter, incredible ensemble cast. One of my favorite Walter Hill films, and that's saying something because he's got some really, really great films in his output. And I think this is one of the best, and maybe underrated in that it's not necessarily listed as one of his best all the time. I don't know. It's hard to know where he's rated. I feel like people know him, but he is really special to me, and this film is just something else. A bunch of Louisiana National Guard soldiers on maneuvers in the swamps of Louisiana, run afoul of some Cajun locals over a dispute over like a canoe, sort of. And then it becomes like a war between them, and it's very Vietnam adjacent and just a really tense, dark story with an incredible cast. And I just love this movie. Great ending. Just a beautiful release from Vinegar Syndrome. Okay, let's do... Oh boy. I guess I got to work down these piles here. All right, so Bringing Out the Dead gets a 4K from Paramount this year, which is really nice. One of Scorsese's, again, maybe underrated a little bit, considering how good the film is and how good Nicolas Cage is. Him and Paul Schrader again together after Taxi Driver, and definitely has an interesting conversation going with Taxi Driver, but a beautiful 4K and... new interview with Scorsese and Cage and Schrader, who's very frank in his interview. But yeah, just a long time coming to not only 4K, but Blu-ray. I don't think this had a Blu-ray previous to this. So now we're getting a nice 4K and Blu-ray together. Or is this just a 4K? I can't remember if this has both. Yeah, this has both. So yeah, that long time coming, but one of my favorite releases of the year, and just a great movie that still holds up really well. Okay, we have from this is the Synapse release of Blue Sunshine. Is this Jeff Burr? What am I thinking of? Yeah, just a really great cult movie of sorts that is about bad acid that turns people into homicidal maniacs that shave their heads or lose their hair. I can't remember how. I think they lose their hair because of this acid. Jeff Lieberman, sorry, is the director, and just an incredible array of features on this. The 4K scan looks just fantastic. New 4K restoration from the 35 camera negative, mastered in Dolby Vision HDR, and yeah, tons of features on this. Synapse, like Second Sight, is great at doing definitive versions of movies, and this 4K, there had been a camera obscura, maybe Blu-ray or 4K of it, and it is one of those things that I like that Blu-ray, but yeah, this one is something else. Really, really amazing stuff. So that is Blue Sunshine from Synapse. They will come up again. From Arrow, they're definitely going to come up. A 4K of Withnail and I. This is the UK 4K, I believe. I don't think they put this out in the States, so you'd have to import this. I got this from Diabolic, I think. But one of the great cult films of all time with both Paul McGann and Richard E. Grant in one of his career-defining roles. Really something else, Richard E. Grant in this movie. Two out-of-work actors living together, struggling, living in a dilapidated place, end up on holiday at one of their uncle's homes, just gone on holiday by mistake. So quotable, so just amazing. I adore this film. And the Arrow previous editions have had lots of great features, and I believe all those have been ported over, but it looks great. It's wonderful to have this on 4K, and just one of the all-time sort of cult classics of British cinema, for me anyway. I just adore it, and one of the great handmade films movies. Probably my favorite of their output. Yes, I like it even more than Time Bandits and Long Good Friday. I mean, they made some really neat films, but this may be my favorite. Just so good. Such a great film. Okay, from Vinegar Syndrome, we have Roman Polanski's The Tenant in this really incredible, it opens like windows kind of stuff. This is just another great cult item from Polanski, who he stars in the film, and again, it comes with a book and some great features. This is a Vinegar Syndrome 4K, and 125-minute feature presentation presented in Dolby Vision HDR, newly restored from its 35 camera negative. Also includes a Blu-ray. I think it has all the features that were included on the Scream Factory Blu-ray, and then some. It's got a lot of stuff and looks great, and just very excited to. A very dark and strangely funny film, but among his films, I still feel like this one gets talked about a little less than it should, considering how dark and weird it is, and interesting. But a great and surprising release from Vinegar Syndrome, and a great package, The Tenant. Okay, back to Arrow. We have A Simple Plan on 4K. Sam Raimi's dramatic film that is also kind of wild and very him in some ways, about a group of folks that finds a bag of money, and how it sort of destroys their lives in some ways. It makes their lives go crazy. And incredible cast, including Billy Bob Thornton, Bill Paxton, Bridget Fonda, music by Elfman. Just a really, really great movie. that, you know, we've talked about wanting another like this from Raimi. You know, what we've talked about is like, oh, let's get him back to horror. Let's get another Drag Me to Hell. Well, he did Drag Me to Hell. Let's see him do another Simple Plan, because this movie is just so well made from him. I just still remember going to the theater and seeing those shots of the white snowscape with the actors walking across the frame, just letting the frame be still and let things move across it. And, you know, for a guy like Raimi who's so into moving the camera, I was like, wow, what a great classy thing to do, to settle down and just let something move across the frame. Anyway, great movie and tons of great features on here. I was so excited to get this 4K. It's so neat that so many of these are Paramount titles that are getting nice boutique releases. Speaking of which, here's another one from Arrow that's a Paramount, and that is Narc. Joe Carnahan's film, Narc, which is still maybe, I don't know, it could be my favorite of his films, although there's a couple others in contention, certainly. But really great cop movie set in Detroit, snowy Detroit, with Jason Patrick as an undercover, a cop recovering from an undercover operation that went wrong and resulted in some death. He's being investigated by Internal Affairs, and then there's also another thing where they bring him in to help figure out another potential cop murder that they're not sure about. And Ray Liotta plays the partner to the guy that was killed, and it's just a really interesting mystery. Great score. I'm just a big fan of Narc, and you know, it got a Blu-ray from Imprint like last year, I think, and I was really excited about that. And then boom, almost right away, we get a 4K. But nonetheless, I'm super excited, and a lot of great features, including a new interview with Joe Carnahan, a video essay. Did they bring over the commentary from Carnahan? Did he do a commentary on? I feel like he did one on the DVD, but I could be wrong about that. Yeah, they do have the commentary on here, and that's really great too. But just a really good neo-noir cop movie that I enjoy in 4K from Arrow. Good stuff. Another Vinegar Syndrome adjacent title. This is Cinematograph, their first 4K, Little Darlings, a movie that I didn't think would get a Blu-ray release, let alone a 4K release. And this was one of their launch titles, along with Red Rock West on Blu-ray. Audio commentary by director Ron Maxwell, audio commentary by Millie DeChirico, alternate scenes commentary, hour-long video interview with Maxwell, Don't Let the Title Fool You, video essay by Sam Deegan, and some essays included as well. But a really wonderful coming-of-age story, kind of more, I mean, it is raunchy in its way, but it's more heartfelt and moving than you would expect from this kind of female version of a sex comedy that mostly involves boys wanting to get laid. This is about girls at a summer camp having a contest for losing their virginity, and the two that go head-to-head are Tatum O'Neal and Christy McNichol. But there's a really nice supporting cast, including Cynthia Nixon and Armand Asante, and just a very sweet movie that I've been a fan of for a long time. And a really nice 4K from Cinematograph on that. So that's very cool. Then we have another of the second sight 4Ks. This is Green Room. Jeremy Saulnier's film. Really intense. Struggling punk rock band is forced to fight for survival after witnessing a brutal murder at a neo-Nazi bar. Trapped in the green room, the group must use everything at their disposal to make it, if they wish to make it through the night. And a great role from Picard, from Patrick Stewart in this. But of course, the late, great Anton Yelchin as well. Very intense, really great movie, surprisingly relevant right now, and just beautiful stuff, including a nice book and art cards and just wonderful features on this one. Just great. These second sights are almost like how are you not going to put these on your favorite of the year? They're just so good. Okay, another Vinegar Syndrome here. We have Phase 4. This is another Paramount title about some ants and them going nuts, and Saul Bass's, I think, only film he ever made, but just fascinating and weird. Michael Murphy, one of these scientists trying to figure these ants out and getting attacked by ants, and it's really something. Great documentary on here, by the way, that I want to say Elijah Drenner did. Let me just see here. It's of course and that's the other thing. 84-minute theatrical version. And what else? There's also they have the I want to say they have the ending scenes. Am I misremembering this? Preview screening with narration. Let's see. Evolution's making of Phase 4. Yeah, that's the Elijah Drenner's doc. And ending montage sequence, 16 minutes. Yeah, so that's included. And that is some trippy stuff if you didn't know. Like, that's kind of almost 2001 level trippy. But one of the artiest animal attack movies there ever was, as you'd expect from Saul Bass. But beautiful transfer, great documentary, good stuff. Phase 4. From Shout Factory, one of my all-time favorites, we have Rock and Roll High School on 4K and Blu-ray, and this is the ultimate. This ports over all the features from all the previous releases, as far as I know. Like 4 different commentaries with, of course, Alan Arkush and Mike Fennell and the screenwriters and PJ Soles and Clint Howard, and there's just a straight screenwriters commentary with Richard Whitley and Rush Devanch. I think Russ plays the nerd that gets thrown in the lockers at the beginning. Anyway, and then a commentary with Day Young and Roger Corman. I mean, it's just amazing. Plus, all kinds of interviews with the cast and crew, and the Corman conducted, or the Leonard Maltin interview from way back. Just amazing. I just adore this movie so much. Is it a huge step up from the Blu-ray? I can't tell, but I just know that it looks great, and I'm going to own it because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So, Rock and Roll High School on 4K, absolute yes, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, let's do some more conventional stuff. These will probably be on some other lists. North by Northwest on 4K. Oh my God. Oh my God. This looks just stunning from those green credit title sequences straight on through. Beautiful stuff. Not a surprise from Warner Brothers. They do wonderful 4Ks. One of the great Hitchcock films, one that has certainly grown on me over time. Just beautiful 4K, and commentary with screenwriter Ernest Lehman. I think these are all old features. I don't know if they've added any new stuff, but regardless, those Hitchcock box sets have been great, but obviously this is one of the big ones that was missing, so an absolute must for Hitchcock fans for sure. North by Northwest, and going with another big one that people know. This is from Paramount, Zodiac on 4K. The Fincher film, one of maybe his best film, if depending on who you ask. Definitely up there for me on any given day. Could be my favorite, probably my favorite. Incredible story of the Zodiac killer. Great cast, brilliantly done by Fincher, and this 4K looks stunning. Fincher's another guy who is kind of meant for 4K, and I just love that. His commentaries are incredible, and this was a pick it up as soon as it came out kind of release, and has some great features on here as well. But yeah, gotta get Zodiac. Come on. Okay. Let's see. Let's do. This is gonna be an interesting one. Bruiser on 4K from Indicator. This one I had never seen. This is George Romero's film. It's a late era film for him. I think it came out in 2000. This 4K is from Indicator, and they did a great job with it. I don't know if this is still around. It might be, but a really interesting film about a guy who, as part of a thing with his boss's wife, makes a mask that he ends up putting on his face and sort of goes crazy. And I don't even want to talk about it too much because it's really one that I didn't know that much about beyond that. And so it was really neat to see it play out. Some of the villains are a little bit arch, a little almost too big, but I just was fascinated with how this played out, and just a neat idea from the mind of the guy who brought us Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead. I love Romero, and this has got some great features, including I want to say a commentary from him. Yeah, from back on the DVD days. This did get a DVD, but it wasn't easy to see for a long time, and so I missed it for whatever reason. I guess I also heard it was just okay, and I liked it more than that. I don't know, I dug it. So very excited to see this get a 4K, and very excited to see Indicator cranking on 4Ks. I should bring in some of their Jean Rollin 4Ks, but I'm not as big a Rollin guy as some, but those movies are so perfect in 4K. Such a great series of films that they're doing, and I just love Indicator. So anyway, speaking of labels I love, Severin had a great year. This Opera 4K, maybe the last Argento that needed a 4K. I mean, all his stuff could use 4K, but this was a big one that didn't have it and looks ridiculously good on this beautiful Severin 4K. Now, this might be hard to get now. I think I had heard Sean Fennessy saying that he couldn't get his hands on it, and so I'm not sure if this one's been sold out. So you might have to look around a little bit. Sometimes there are some online stores that still have stuff like this, but I'm guessing this one might be hard to get. But it comes with a book and some incredible features, as usual, from Severin. And just, yeah, I mean, this is a 4-disc set. 5-disc, includes a soundtrack CD. So you've got just tons of extras and a gorgeous transfer on the 4K. So 1 UHD and 3 Blu-rays and a soundtrack. Just incredible stuff. Severin really, I mean, these are expensive, but again, 5 discs, I mean, my goodness. Great stuff. And this is a sort of a group pick, but very exciting to see Severin get involved with Russ Meyer's estate and put out these wonderful 4Ks of Vixen, Super Vixens, and Beneath the Valley of the Ultra Vixens on 4K, and they look amazing. They look so good, and at least they have the Russ Meyer commentaries from the DVD versions, and sometimes they have more than that. But these are really great releases, and really, like, one has an Erica Gavin commentary as well. But just very exciting to see his catalog finally being collaborated with by a label like Severin. And I do hope this is the beginning of something, because there are so many films yet that would be great to get on Blu-ray, that, you could get some Blu-rays. Like I do have behind me somewhere a Faster Pussycat Kill Kill Blu-ray from the Russ Meyer website that I ordered direct. But they were very expensive. These were not cheap necessarily. And I don't know. They just weren't, I don't know. I feel like with this collaboration, Severin really knows what they're doing. They know how to market these, and they'll sell better. And so I'm hoping that the Russ Meyer estate will allow them to continue to do this, because if they do, I'm going to continue to buy them. They are very unique, sexy films. Russ Meyer was a one-of-a-kind, independent filmmaker, and a great editor, by the way. We talk about how great of a filmmaker some people are, but we don't talk about him as an editor. Just a great editor in camera, just knowing exactly what he wanted, and an auteur in his own right, for sure. But yeah, if this was a box set, this would have been in my box set group, but I just wanted to recommend the Russ Meyer 4Ks. Those are wonderful. This is really neat. A new label emerged this year called Celluloid Dreams, and they're focused on Italian films. It seems like they're going to be doing some giallo. They did talk about Black Belly the Tarantula. I think they have Short Night of Glass Dolls coming. Don't quote me on that. I'm forgetting what the second disc is. But this first one, The Case of the Bloody Iris, blew me away. Not only did it come with some like full-sized lobby cards, so they had to ship it in a giant envelope, which is crazy and expensive, but so cool. This disc just is wonderful. Beautiful looking transfer. Some nice features, including a commentary by Guido Henkel, who is one of the founders of this label. He and his son, I think, if I recall. But just one to watch for sure in 2025. They did an impeccable job with this. This is a giallo I'd never seen before. I'm not even a big giallo guy, and this really won me over. Obviously, the visual presentation certainly helps, but as a mystery giallo movie that I'd never seen, I was just enraptured by it. A big discovery for me this year, but definitely recommend Celluloid Dreams. Okay. Another Synapse, we have Trick or Treat, the 80s film with Sammy Kerr. This is a 4K that is one of those classic Synapse things. Like, I didn't even know this is in the works. And boom, it just shows up one day. And you're like, oh man, I got to get that. And I think it crashed their website because it was such a, big time wanted title, incredible looking 4K, and comes in a really nice hard case. Tons of extra features. I mean, again, definitive, truly definitive. This is another one that I'd had a German import, I think, Blu-ray, but this 4K, absolutely definitive for heavy metal horror fans around the world. Rejoice. This is really something special. I mean, you just look at that paragraph of extras on this thing, and yeah, it's well worth it. Criterion. I mean, there's tons that you could talk about with them. I tend to not emphasize them because I feel like they get plenty of attention elsewhere, but I'm going to give some attention here. The big one for me, I think, is going to be their release of I Walk with a Zombie and The Seventh Victim, kind of completing the home video releases of Val Lewton's films. And these had all been available on Blu-ray. These are the first 4Ks of the Val Lewton films, but also on Blu-ray to finally get that whole collection out there on disc, between Warner Archive and Scream Factory and Criterion. Now you can get all those films that were put out by Lewton and his team. These are two really good ones. Seventh Victim is a favorite of my good friend Elric Kane's. We've talked about it in our show for a long time. I Walk with a Zombie, also great. Jacques Tourneur film that was the original film that Danny Perry wrote a sample chapter of for his Cult Movies books. Like, that entry, I think, was the first entry, and so that's just a classic cult movie, but just great atmosphere, beautiful cinematography, well represented on this Blu-ray with some wonderful features, including a commentary with Kim Newman and Stephen Jones, and a new interview with Imogen Sarah Smith, who is fantastic in sort of summing up the it factor of Val Lewton and what he was about and what his films were doing, and just love that interview. Anyway, fantastic release from Criterion. All right, let's do the new stuff. Perfect Days, one of my favorite films of 2024. I mean, I know it's kind of a 2023, but I'm counting it as 2024. Wim Wenders' film, Paris, Texas, just came out on 4K too. I'm not going to include that because I'm waiting for the UK version, and I'm not going to get it probably before the end of the year. Maybe I will. But anyway, so this one, just a beautiful story. Just a beautiful, beautiful story about a guy who cleans these wonderful public toilets in Tokyo, and how his simple life is sort of thrown out of whack when his niece comes to see him. He loves to almost not talk at all, listen to old audio cassettes of the Velvet Underground and things that he loves, and incorporates music in that way that Wim Wenders does. But just a beautiful film and a great great release. Wenders interviewed, the lead actors interviewed. Short film by Wenders included here too. Neat story about how this film came to be. Really great. Albert Brooks got some great love from the Criterion Collection again this year. I mean, he's been, Defending Your Life and Lost in America have come out on Blu-ray. I kind of wish we got 4Ks of those, but all these new ones, including, was there only just 2? No, I'm blanking. Okay, anyway, Real Life and Mother came out. Real Life, his debut film, gets a 4K. Fascinating, still very funny, satirical take on this American family show that was going on at the time. Just wonderful and dark and weird, and Albert Brooks really pushing boundaries. And of course, he's in the cast. He's the guy making this documentary thing with a family headed by Charles Grodin. But yeah, I'm a big Real Life fan. Friend Larry Karaszewski is a huge fan of this one. He's been talking it up forever. But yeah, just love this. I love the cameras that they use. These guys put these helmets on to capture the video. It's predating a lot of things. It's predicting things. It's such an odd and interesting movie. A great debut film for sure. So that's wonderful. Another one that just got it had a Blu-ray but got a 4K, Risky Business. I was really surprised by, written and directed by Paul Brickman, surprised how much I enjoyed this more upon rewatch than I remembered liking. I mean, I liked it. I always kind of liked it. But I've been watching a lot of 80s sex comedies over the last, 5, 6, 7 years. And this one just really stands out. It's so artfully done. It's just thoughtful and different and funny. And not that the other ones aren't, but it's just got so much going on that I love. Tom Cruise is great. Curtis Armstrong is great. Yeah, I really love this idea of a kid who gets himself involved with some high-level prostitutes and getting them in trouble with the pimps that are involved with them, played by Joey Pants. But yeah, just Rebecca De Mornay in this is stellar. I really enjoyed rewatching this. I was just surprised how well it held up and then some. Like one of the great movies of the 80s, kind of, in a way. Anyway, great 4K of that. And then, of course, Repo Man, which had already gotten a nice 4K, a nice DVD Blu-ray release, from Criterion. This doesn't really add anything to that, but the new scan looks wonderful. Having watched part of the Paris, Texas 4K, I can tell you, like, Robbie Mueller, one of the greatest cinematographers for me, it's certainly of the 80s, but definitely an all-time guy. Some beautiful shots of Los Angeles in this. I think it's certainly well known as a cult movie, maybe not as well appreciated as a beautifully shot cult movie. Alex Cox really came up with something special. This universe is out of its mind, and I love this movie. It just becomes more of a favorite all the time, and so quotable too. Beautifully shot. This 4K really represents that well. Okay, got some kinos to talk about here. Prime Cut, we have the dark gangster film from Michael Ritchie, who also did The Bad News Bears and Smile, and fascinating director, Michael Ritchie. But this one is really interesting because it's Gene Hackman and Lee Marvin kind of going head-to-head as two mob factions. Gene Hackman, kind of an out-of-control character named Marianne, and it gets really crazy, and there's some crazy stuff with slaughterhouses and a wonderful scene with a wheat thresher or something in a field, and Sissy Spacek, sort of kidnapped into sex slavery, being saved by Lee Marvin. It's just really a special movie, a cult item, and you'll 100% get it when you see this. 2 commentaries on here and a beautiful scan, new Dolby Vision HDR 4K scan of the original camera negative for Prime Cut, which I'm a big fan of. Another crime film that I love is Le Dulo. This is the Jean-Pierre Melville film. He also got another 4K with Le Samurai from Criterion. I'm sure that's going to get mentioned elsewhere. I hope Le Dolo does. I actually like Le Dolo maybe more than Le Samurai. I know that my story with it is specific to me because a friend of mine showed it to me and just built it up as this like greatest movie ever. And I was watching it and I was like, I don't get it. I don't like what's going on. It doesn't make sense. It's annoying. And then once the turn happens and things start to become clearer, I was like, oh my God, it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. And it's a really sharp, well-observed, twisty noir crime film from Melville. And it's still one of my favorites that he's ever done. Great commentary from Sam Deegan, interview with first assistant director Volker Schlondorf, and birth of the detective story Melville style documentary, all included on this 4K. Great stuff. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original 1956 Don Siegel version in 4K from Kino. So much in the way of commentaries here. We have 4 commentaries. Kevin McCarthy, Dana Winter, moderated by Joe Dante. That commentary alone is amazing. Richard Harlan Smith, underrated in my mind as a commentator, or really great in the commentaries he does do. Steve Mitchell, Nathaniel Thompson, as well as Jason A. Nye, both have the other commentaries. The Fear is Real featurette with filmmaker Larry Cohen and Joe Dante. Stranger in Your Lover's Eyes featurette, and I No Longer Belong, The Rise and Fall of Walter Wanger featurette. So lots of nice features on this. It's presented in both 1.85 and 2.0 to 1 black and white widescreen. I think this looks great. I don't know. I'm sure there are contesting opinions online, but I was a big fan of this one. Nice release from them. Another noir, we have Brick, Rian Johnson's wonderful debut film, Brick, on 4K, porting over all the features that have ever been on any of the discs I'm aware of, including a great commentary with him in the cast and costume designer, production designer, and producer, and another Jason A. Nye commentary. That's for the 4K. 8 deleted extended scenes with intros by Rian Johnson, and the inside track casting the roles of Laura and Dode. Just an incredible noir and high school debut film with killer performance from Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Nora Zehetner. It's really, Lucas Haas is great. Richard Roundtree's in here. Yeah, I just love this movie. My wife and I saw it. We'd seen the trailers. We were going to the movies all the time around 2005 when this came out. And we saw the trailers. We're like, oh, that looks really good. Let's go see it. And it was one of those that you see the trailer and the movie's even better than the trailer. And we just loved it. And it's, in fact, one of my wife's favorite movies to this day. And this 4K is definitive. Really, really great. Talked about this one a little bit already, but Friedkin's The Hunted on 4K low-key become one of my favorite Friedkin films. A tight 94 minutes, and a lot of it is chase. You basically have an out-of-control combat veteran played by Benicio del Toro, and the guy who sort of trained him, played by Tommy Lee Jones, sort of tracking him as he is killing some hunters in the woods, and then is just kind of on the loose in like Portland, I think. I can't remember the Pacific Northwest somewhere, but just a great chase movie. I mean, Friedkin's done some great chases. French Connection, To Live and Die in LA, but this one is another one that doesn't get talked about enough, but has a great foot chase, car chase. So good. I'm such a big fan of this, and only saw it like within the last few years. And this is a weird one, but one that I like. Part of the Kino cult line, Zoltan, Hound of Dracula. I think it's also known as Dracula's Dog. All about a group, basically a dog that helps revive its master vampire, played by Reggie Nalder, to go and find the original family of Dracula, played by a group, Michael Pataki and his family. And there's a detective played by Jose Ferrer, I think, who's trying to find them. And it's weird. It's a weird movie, but I don't know. I just love dog movies, and this is a dog horror movie that's really unique and looks great on this 4K. Directed by Albert Band, Charlie Band's dad. American Movie gets a 4K. Not a lot I'm going to say about this one. Most people know this movie. One of the great documentaries, one of the great portraits of filmmaking, inspirational. Mark Borchardt is one of my favorite people, period. Just follow the guy on social media. He's still out there, still making films, still needs your support, and is just like nobody else. Has such a unique intellectual take on filmmaking, but is a very blue-collar guy. Love him. Neat about this one, includes the director's and cast commentary and deleted scenes, but also includes the Coven short film, which is one of the movies being made in this. He's also working on Northwestern, Anyway, that wasn't included on the DVD, or I'm sorry, the Blu-ray, so you had to hold on to your DVD. Now you can get rid of it. Now you have both here. But yeah, fantastic documentary, one of my favorites. A few more things here. Part of the Paramount Scares set, which is a really nice 4K set. We have Friday the 13th Part 2 and Breakdown, both getting 4Ks. Both great. Both great stuff. I love Breakdown. And Friday the 13th Part 2, my favorite Friday the 13th movie. One of my favorite slasher movies. And I think it includes some, if not all, of the features from the Scream Factory release from the box set. But I had to mention it because I just love Friday the 13th Part 2. It's just scary. Jason with the, sack on his head, and Amy Steele, and I just love it. So, and Breakdown, just an incredible thriller with Kurt Russell. Great ending. Just love it. Love getting that on 4K. Nice features on that as well. Two more from Cinematograph to close out. We have Shanks, which is just a movie that I have a real fondness for. It's from William Castle, who did a lot of Hitchcock knockoffs. This is his, I don't know, man. It's a weird one. Malcolm Shanks, who's played by Marcel Marceau, the famous mime, is a deaf-mute, reclusive puppeteer who lives with his overbearing sister and her lush of a husband. The only source of joy in his harsh world is his puppets, which is noticed by a beguiling inventor named Dr. Baker, also played by Marceau, so he plays a dual role, who promptly offers him a job as his assistant. Upon Dr. Baker's sudden death, Shanks discovers that he can, with the aid of electrodes, reanimate the dead, bringing new reality to their experiments. So he uses his little control and makes people into puppets. And then it becomes like a biker attack movie, and the puppets thing comes into play. It's such a bizarre film, but I really have this affection for it. New commentary by Kim Newman and Barry Forshaw. Great stuff. New interview with producer Stephen North, and new video essay by Daniel Kramer. Marcel Marceau on Shanks, an archival interview with the actor. Just a really nice release that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about because I think a lot of people don't know this movie. But it's come out on Blu-ray previously, but this is a really nice 4K Ultra HD of Shanks. So got my heart with that one. And then lastly, one from Jonathan Demme, his Hitchcock riff with Last Embrace, with the great Roy Scheider, John Glover, Sam Levine, Charles Napier, and Chris Walken, Janet Margolin, of course. Just a really interesting Hitchcockian thriller from Jonathan Demme that doesn't get enough love these days. And I was excited to get this. Has been out on Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray had gone out of print from Kino, so excited to get a 4K of Last Embrace. Also this year. Really, really cool stuff. And new written essays by my friend Jim Hempel included in this set as well. So that's going to do it for my 4K picks. Thank you for hanging with me on this. I know it's a lot of stuff and some weird stuff that maybe only I like, but it was a great year for 4Ks, and 2025 I'm having a feeling will be similarly great. But physical media collectors really had something to celebrate in terms of the variety and breadth of releases that we got on 4K this year. So much good stuff. So many films I love. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.